The following video will explain the difference between Weta Health production, staging, and shadow sites. So first we're going to start on the Weta Health production site. You can see this is the production site because the URL starts with my.wetahealth. So anything starting with my means that it is a production site. So what does production mean? Well, that means it's a secure live server of the study website. So anything that you do on here will impact participants if you have participants. And then this is also where you're going to build your study. So when you click in, if I were to edit something at the arm level now with my real participants in here, it's going to affect them. So that's something to keep in mind when you make changes midway throughout a study. And this is considered the back end of Weta Health. So the back end is where you will manage your caseload, where you'll build your study. This site is considered the back end, any of these tabs. Whereas the front end is considered the participant-facing dashboard. So this would be what we would call the front end. So this is where the participant would log in to enroll or to view their dashboard once they're randomized and started. And this is also a production site, which you can see with the My. And again, if you were to edit the text on here, a participant would see it. And then we also have what we call the staging site. So this is the Weta Health staging site. And you can see it looks exactly like the live site, except that the URL is a telltale sign. It starts with staging.wetahealth instead of my.wetahealth. And staging is, the formal definition is the server environment that replicates the production environment as closely as possible, and it's mostly used for testing. So once you have real participants in your study, you will want to do any testing on staging prior to pushing it to production. So if you are unsure, like let's say you want to test out a survey or you want to see what it's like to rerun something or add a lottery or vice versa, you'll want to do that in the staging site because nothing is going to impact real participants. And you can actually see that everything is blinded and filled with fake data. So if I click show participant name, you'll see that it doesn't actually show these participants' names, that it's all filled in with dummy information here. So this is great if you want to, for example, if this participant calls in and says that they're having an issue, like they see something weird on their dashboard, or you can actually log in as this participant. So you just click like this create new recovery link, and you would copy this. And you can log in as them. So the one caveat with staging is that it's not updated live. So what you need to do is ask for the developers to sync production to staging. So what you will do is you will put in a JIRA ticket, ask them to sync production to staging. So that means copy over all what's happening on production to staging, and then this will allow you to test basically in real time. And they usually take care of this definitely within the day, and usually within, as soon as they see it. And another thing with staging is that, if you do make a change on here, once production is copied over to staging, anything that you did will be deleted because the production will override it. And then one final limitation of staging, which we're hoping is a short-term thing, is that it is only available on Penn servers. So if you work at Penn, that's fine. But if you work at CHOP, you are not going to be able to access staging. So anytime that something is pushed to staging in either a ticket or something like that, you'll just have to tell the developers that you need it on production. And also, if you're working remotely, you need to VPN into your desktop in order to access staging. And we're hoping again that this is short term, and eventually we're going to open up the staging servers to everyone. So this shouldn't be a problem for much longer. And then the last site that you may have, if you generally for more complicated studies, is what we call a shadow site. So you would see this on your main dashboard. It would be called like BFit Shadow or just Shadow. And the definition of a shadow study is a separate study created on production, which again you can see with this My, that can be modified to be tested on a shorter time frame. Shadow is often used during the testing phase pre-launch of a study. So basically we use Shadow before we've launched the study in order to test things on a short time frame. So if you have a 2-year project, obviously you can't test that within a couple of weeks. So what we'll do is we'll build the study arms to just be condensed, and that way you can make sure that everything is working properly without actually having to wait 2 years to go through the process. So we'll just shorten everything. So a survey that you would normally administer at 6 months, you would administer at 1 week or something like that, and you can just test everything quickly. Generally, this isn't as necessary for easier, more straightforward projects using basic functionality, but for this project, we were using gamification, which was a new feature at the time, so we really wanted to make sure everything was working properly. And then one of the other benefits of Shadow is once your project launches and you clear out all of your test data on the main study site of production, it's sometimes, if you do have a more complicated study, it is nice to have a participant in Shadow that is like linked to your email, because if there's an issue with the site, we're not collecting device data or feedback seems incorrect or something like that, when you get that daily message or whatever intervention your study is running, it will be a red flag to you that something's going on with the site on Shadow, which is probably also on production and impacting real participants. So again, the 3 Way to Health sites are production, staging, and Shadow. Generally, you'll be living in production where you'll manage your caseload, and that's where you build your study. And then staging is used post-launch in order to test things. And then Shadow is used on production for more complicated studies to test pre-launch on a shorter time frame.